MASSIV 3GTV gives advertisers the unique ability to track the performance of an ad for themselves, online and in real time. And the tool that's been developed for advertisers by MASSIV TV to give them that type of transparency is a powerful software application called MASSIV Client. And over the next few minutes, I will be giving you a real-time demonstration of MASSIV Client. MASSIV Client is a proprietary web server application that allows advertisers to interrogate the information that's constantly being streamed by MASSIV TV's national fleet of 3GTV mobile televisions back to a central data repository located in the United States of America. MASSIV Client can be accessed from any web browser running either on a PC or a Mac, or in fact from any handheld device like an iPad or a smartphone that has access to the internet, anywhere and at any time. Because of the enormous amount of data that's available to advertisers on MASSIV 3GTV, a fast internet link is essential, and while it is possible for advertisers to decide for themselves what range of data they'd like to analyze, I must tell you that it'll be a lot quicker and a lot more efficient for you to interrogate the performance of an ad or a campaign if you analyzed it more frequently and in smaller bites rather than to request huge amounts of data over long periods at a time. That could take quite a while before the results are returned to you, and it would consume quite a bit of your bandwidth in the process. Nevertheless, MASSIV Client has been designed to make the interrogation of vast amounts of data extremely efficient, as I'll show you in this demonstration. In order to access MASSIV Client, you need to type this address into your browser. Now, for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm using Safari running on a Mac here, but the interface will look exactly the same whether you're using Internet Explorer or Firefox or Google Chrome or any other browser. And to make it easier for myself, I've saved this URL as a bookmark. That way, I don't have to try and remember this URL string. Now, as a first-time user, you'll be asked to enter your unique login name and password. Your MASSIV TV consultant will be able to help you with that if you don't already have one. The login name and password is important because it is what MASSIV Client uses to decide what information you're entitled to see. Other advertisers are not able to see your information, and you're of course not able to see their data. So the integrity of your business is well secured with MASSIV Client. Also, as an added security measure, your password will automatically expire every few weeks, in which case you would need to get a new password from your MASSIV TV consultant. And if you're using a computer that's also being used by others, I suggest that you don't ask MASSIV Client to remember your password in your keychain. Once you've entered your login name and password, simply click the login button, and once MASSIV Client has verified that you're a registered user, then you should see this screen appear in your browser window. Now, I must tell you that a great deal of thought has been given to the design of MASSIV Client, and especially how to present a very large volume of information very efficiently. MASSIV Client has also been designed to handle the exponential growth of the MASSIV 3GTV fleet that's being projected for the future. It'll cope very nicely with a very large fleet size. Okay, so this then is what the interface looks like. And while it may look disappointingly simple, I can tell you that it's deliberately been designed that way. From this drop-down box, you can see that there are 5 different reports that you can choose from, and in this box just below the drop-down list, there's a pretty detailed description of each report to help you. The first report allows you as an advertiser or as a media agency to refine your analysis of the information as you progressively drill down through the different layers or levels of data. The next step is to decide over which time period you'd like to analyze the data. Please remember by looking at the data over short periods of time more frequently will be a great deal more efficient than trying to analyze the information over long periods of time, and it will avoid your bandwidth being clogged up by a lot of data being sent back to you by the MASSIV client server. Also, please note that MASSIV 3GTV will automatically archive data older than 3 months. So, if for some reason you need to access flighting information that's older than 3 months, please contact your MASSIV TV consultant for help. The information is still there, only it won't be available to you in MASSIV Client, purely as a practical expedient. For this report, we need to specify a date range, and you'll see that it defaults to a date range of 1 day that by default ends yesterday. That is also the recommendation for optimum data analysis. But if you'd like to look at the performance of an ad over any other period, that's okay. All that you have to do is specify your start and end dates. Okay, so let's run this report for, say, the past 3 weeks. So I choose a start date of, say, 1 November by choosing this handy little calendar, and I'll keep the end date of my report to yesterday's date. Today happens to be November the 24th, 2011. Then you click the execute button, and after a few seconds or a few minutes or a few hours, depending on your internet speed and the volume of data that you're trying to analyze, the first level of results will be returned to you in summary form. Now please bear in mind, this is actual information that I'm accessing here in real time, and it just so happens that my internet connection is pretty lousy at the moment, so I'll give it just a few seconds to retrieve the data for me. And voila, after a short wait, here are my results, neatly summarized in a table for me. At the top of the summary table, you'll see a legend that shows the data hierarchy, and at the highest level it shows the date range that we chose. Then follows the advertiser or advertising agency, followed by the advertising brand as well as the advertising campaign, and at the very lowest level you can find the results of the actual ad itself. Now also remember, each advertiser or agency will only see the information that pertains to it. So your results may very well look quite different to what you're seeing here. Also, please note that because I'm looking at actual data here, we've had to block out the various names for the sake of confidentiality. So I hope you're still able to follow what I'm doing here. At this first level, where we're looking at all the results for a particular advertiser or agency, the table gives us a summary of the number of times all ads that relate to that particular advertiser or agency actually flighted, as well as the number of impressions that have been recorded for those ads that relate to that advertiser or that agency over the date range that we chose, based on actual researched commuter data. Now, when we talk about impressions, we mean the number of times that a commuter watched an ad on MASSIV TV. In other words, by impressions, we refer to the number of times that an ad registered with a commuter. Also, please note that while the information for the MASSIV 3GTV fleet is entirely accurate, it is exactly how each MASSIV 3G television reported over this period back to the server. The information for the rest of the MASSIV TV fleet necessarily has to be extrapolated from that base. And as MASSIV TV works to upgrade its entire fleet of mobile televisions to its latest 3GTV standard, the figures in the TV fleet will of course reduce to 0, with a corresponding increase in the numbers of the MASSIV 3G fleet. So, for this particular advertiser or agency, we can see that since 1 November 2011, their ads flighted a total of 207,857 times on MASSIV TV, and that those ads registered more than 11 million times with commuters. At the bottom of the table, by the way, you'll see that over this period, MASSIV TV flighted a total of 2,681,054 ads that registered some 142.568 million impressions on MASSIV TV for those advertisers or agencies that I've selected for the purposes of this demonstration. Of course, as an advertiser or as an advertising agency, You don't have the ability to select different advertisers or agencies as I have here. You will only see your own information stats. Okay, let's drill down deeper to the next level. By clicking on the advertiser or agency, and by the way, wherever you can drill down to is highlighted and underscored in blue. Your cursor will also change to a little pointy finger as you mouse over any bit of data that can be analyzed once the previous data selection has been completed. So as we move to the next level of data, you can see that the legend on the top of your screen is automatically updated to show you exactly where you are in the hierarchy to aid you. The next level shows you the different brands associated with an advertiser or an agency. This is very useful for advertising agencies that have a number of different clients that advertise on MASSIV TV. And once again, by clicking on the brand, you can see the various advertising campaigns that are associated with that particular advertising brand. And by clicking on a particular advertising campaign, you can see the different ads that made up that advertising campaign together with the description of each ad. As you can see, at every step of the process, the summary table reduces to reflect a subset of the information as we continue to refine our analysis. And by clicking on the media clip or the actual name of an ad, it has an AVI extension because that happens to be the video format which MASSIV 3GTV broadcasts in. We get to the very lowest level in the process, which shows the number of times that particular ad flighted for each of the days we chose, as well as the number of impressions that it had for each of the days over our date range. By the way, weekends and public holidays have been adjusted for in these figures because, as we know, the audience numbers are very different on Saturdays, Sundays and public holidays to what it is for the rest of the week. And finally, for this first report, by clicking on the date itself, MASSIV Client then gives you the actual details of the ad on the day that you selected, the time that it flighted, the vehicle, the television reference number, the registration number and details of the vehicle, as well as the exact GPS coordinates where the ad flighted. Now, you may be a bit overwhelmed by all this data, but if you really wanted, you can use up a few hectares of rainforest and print it out for yourself, simply by clicking on this print icon here. Or even better, by clicking on this little icon, you can download all the data that you've selected to your computer in a CSV file format that can easily be imported into something like Microsoft Excel for you to work with. By the way, you may sometimes see blank fields for the GPS coordinates in some places. This is not a failure on the part of MASSIV 3GTV. It's just that no GPS system always has a clear satellite signal. You often see this, for example, when the GPS in your car hesitates for a moment as it searches for a satellite signal when buildings or bridges or trees or adverse weather or sun flares or whatever interfere with the satellite signal. So it is quite normal for us to experience some GPS data that may not always be available at the exact moment when a 3G TV logs a report with a server. But that's perfectly normal and it is to be expected. It just goes to show that the technology developed by MASSIV 3GTV actually works, and that it works well. And so, besides being a powerful tool for advertisers or advertising agencies to be able to track the performance of an ad for themselves, MASSIV Client could also serve as a valuable tool in the hands of advertising agencies who want to impress a prospective client, because this kind of transparency and accountability simply is not possible with any other form of advertising media. And so it does give advertisers a great deal of comfort to be able to see for themselves just how well their ad spend is doing. By clicking on the back arrow at the top of your browser window, you can always step back one level higher up in the hierarchy, like so. On the far side of the summary table, you can see a clickable map tag displayed, and by clicking on that for a particular day on the date range that we chose, MASSIV Client will take you to a Google map of the world that shows every instance where the ad was flighted on MASSIV 3GTV on that day. By dragging the map around with your mouse, like so, you can focus in on any area of the map. And by zooming into the map using either the scroll wheel on your mouse or the little slider located at the top of your browser window, you can get a detailed graphical representation of the different waypoints that show exactly where that ad played out on that particular day. When you hover over any one of these waypoints with your mouse, a tooltip automatically appears that gives you some basic information, the television reference number, the actual time it flighted, as well as the type of vehicle where it flighted. Please note that, because of the concentration of waypoints where ads were flighted on the map, some waypoints may be obscured by others, so you may have to zoom in really close to see a better picture, although some waypoints may just not be visible at all because they've been obscured by other waypoints above them on the map. Before we finish with this one report, let me show you something really cute. If you grab hold of this little figure here with your mouse and drag it to any one of the waypoints on the map, like so, MASSIV Client then brings up a photo of the actual place on the map where the ad flighted. And by clicking on this little dial here, you get a 360-degree view of the actual place where the ad flighted on that day, at that time, at that specific location. Pretty cute. But let's take a quick look at all the other reports in MASSIV Client. Rather than stepping back up the hierarchy by clicking on this back arrow a few times, you can get back to the main menu quickly by clicking this little home icon to take you back to the main menu. Okay, the second report is a lot simpler than the first, but it does give a lot of really important information about the different geographic concentrations of ads. After you've chosen your date range and clicking the execute button, this report gives a graphic summary of the different regions where all ads were flighted for a particular advertiser or agency, together with the number of times they flighted. This information is more than useful to help an advertiser or an agency plan an ad campaign, and it is very important when you're planning a smart ad to make sure you don't specify a location for a smart ad that falls outside of the broadcasting footprint of MASSIV 3GTV. Okay. We once again click the little home icon and be back again at the main menu. The third report, Smart Ads. Once again, we're required to set the date range, and here again I'll set the start date to 1 November and our end date to yesterday's date by simply entering the dates rather than picking from the little diary. With this report, MASSIV Client follows exactly the same hierarchical procedure as with the first report, where we examine the information progressively. So I'm quickly going to step down through the various levels to get to the very lowest level, like so, because it is the map where this report really gets cute. When we get to the lowest level and we click on the map, we can see exactly where every smart ad location has been defined for this particular advertiser or agency. There are all these areas shown in green with the actual location marked with a crosshair symbol. The yellow circle marks a 1 kilometer radius that surrounds each location. As soon as a vehicle moves into that yellow zone, then a smart ad will automatically be triggered. The normal television schedule on MASSIV channel will then be interrupted, and the smart ad will play out on that one vehicle only. And from this map, you will see exactly how many vehicles flighted a smart ad within each of the different waypoints for this one day that we're looking at. And as before, you can hover with your mouse over any one of these waypoints to activate a little tooltip that will give you a summary of the vehicle. You can also zoom in or take a 360-degree view of the actual location where the smart ad played out. In fact, you may even be able to see the actual KFC outlet that triggered this particular smart ad in your view of the location. Pretty neat. Okay, let's click home again to get back to the main menu. The fourth report analyzes and plots the last position reported by every vehicle in the MASSIV 3G national fleet of vehicles on a Google map. Once we click execute, this is what we're presented with. Each type of vehicle is represented by a different icon, so you can see all these cute little buses and cute little taxis and so on, all bunched together. These show the exact location last reported by each vehicle in the MASSIV 3GTV fleet. But please watch out. Because of the high concentration of vehicles in certain areas and along certain popular routes, a number of icons, in fact, A large number of icons will always be obscured by others on top of them, so by simply looking at this map from a distance does not give one an accurate idea of the size of the overall MASSIV 3G fleet of vehicles. You will have to zoom into the max to see the map in greater detail, and even then, there is no way that we can show you if there are any vehicles that are hidden by others that happen to report a more recent location. For that, you'll just have to play around with MASSIV Client more often. And as before, all the other map features that I've already shown you, hovering over a vehicle icon to get a tooltip about the vehicle itself, zooming either in or out, as well as a 360-degree location photo, all work in exactly the same way on this map. But there's something else that I need to point out to you on this map. This lot of vehicles that all seem to be parked out in the Indian Ocean off East London. No, MASSIV TV does not operate a fleet of amphibious vehicles. These are just to show that there will always be some vehicles in respect of which no last GPS location has been reported to MASSIV Client. And simply as a convenience, we've parked them off East London. Okay. We once again click Home to take us back to the fifth and last report available in MASSIV Client. This last report allows us to plot the daily movement of a particular vehicle in the MASSIV 3G national fleet of vehicles, and to see what was flighted on board that one vehicle, when and where. Now, because vehicles tend to follow certain fixed routes, this report does not allow us to choose a date range, only a specific day, because the routes for different days simply tend to repeat themselves. When we click the Execute button, we are presented with these three choices. Either you have to enter the vehicle registration number, or the vehicle reference number like a bus or taxi reference number, or you have to enter the particular television reference number which your MASSIV TV consultant will be happy to supply you with. Although please note, a television reference number is not always fixed to a particular vehicle. It can change over time. Okay. For the sake of this demonstration, I'm going to enter a vehicle registration number, and as a convenience, just because I'm lazy and because I know it belongs to an actual vehicle, I'm simply going to use the example number quoted here. And so we enter the vehicle registration number and we click Execute once again. And voila! Another Google map appears that shows exactly what was flighted aboard this one vehicle, where and when. And once again, by hovering with your mouse over each waypoint, a little tooltip pops up that gives you the details of every flighting. And as always, all the other features of MASSIV Client are available here, moving the map around, zooming in and out, and of course, looking at a 360-degree picture of the actual place where it flighted. And the waypoints that we see marked here with a crosshair symbol represent different bases or depots or ranks for different vehicles. And that's it, folks. Thank you for your patience. By clicking on the X at the top of your browser window, you will be logged out of MASSIV Client and your MASSIV Client session will end.